Cool.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's Leo Brady here with AMovieGuy.com. We have an awesome director, Collin Schiffli, here with us on this recording. We're doing the hot seat. We got him on the hot seat, back on the hot seat. You guys know he's from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and he went to Columbia College in Chicago. And now we're here to talk about his awesome new film, Dying a Gunfight. Collin, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, this is fantastic. So you have not made a film for a couple years now. It's been a little bit of a while, but you tell our audience how you came upon this screenplay from Andre Barrere and Gabriel Ferrari, and what sort of convinced you to make this your third film.
Yeah, Andrew and Gabe. We it's interesting. So obviously, with all indie movies and all movies in general, you always hear these stories how it took us 10 years to get this thing made, and there's a lot of it doesn't maybe mean you're literally sitting there in a room every single day 9 to 5 trying to get it made, but you're constantly chipping away at the different tasks that need to get done. And for me, I've done 3 films. They've been kind of spaced out 3 years apart in each, and that's kind of the general, it seems like so far what it takes to get something going, and that's kind of fast.
Yeah.
But Gunfight especially was a long journey, because I got that the same time. I got the script the same time I got my second script, All Creatures Here Below.
Yeah.
Literally almost the same week, I swear. I remember David Dastmalchian, the writer of All Creatures and Animals, was like, hey, I got my second movie. But at the same time, he was like, I know you got to meet these other guys who are fans of animals, and they have a script. And so for me, it's like, I'm the worst script reader. And if I can read it in one sitting and be like, wow, this is like getting my brain, it almost gets me worked up in a overwhelmed way. Cause I'm like, I'm starting to picture the shots and how to do it. And what are these writers like? And what are they trying to say? And that's how it was instantly with Andrew and Gabe and their script. They liked my work, and they had been trying to get it going in different, various forms throughout the years. And for me, I think I jumped at the chance because there was something just so self-aware and tongue-in-cheek and such a love letter to movies and big city life, and this kind of romantic view of, we see ourselves as characters in stories and movies every day. And it spoke to all those things. And I was like, who are these guys? And what is this? And it really grabbed my attention.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and obviously it had to be something really important for it to grab your attention, because the tone of this from your first 2 films is like it's the other direction.
It is.
Yeah. I watched All Creatures Here Below last night. And
cool.
yeah. So, and like, I just was like, wow. And I hope the audience will know this, that Dying a Gunfight is definitely a departure from what you've been doing in your last 2 films. Can you talk about like what was your sort of artistic style and thinking that you wanted going into this?
Sure. I mean, that's a great question. I really appreciate that. Obviously, I know we've communicated in the past, and I'm grateful for your support of the other films. And you always want to kind of I always looked at my life as a filmmaker as, you follow your favorite filmmakers, and they all have their kind of either very consistent tone of work, or you kind of know what their power is of oh, Scorsese is great at crime stuff, and Wes Anderson has his thing, and Tim Burton does all the gothic-y weirdness, and everyone's kind of got their stamp, and I think that's amazing and awesome. But I feel like, after doing the first 2 movies, which I've always said I want to make all kinds of movies. It's hard when you go into meetings, and even as actors, you get typecast, you always kind of get pigeonholed. And I love making those, Animals and All Creatures. I love making nuanced character pieces.
Yeah.
And no matter what, though, I want to make things that feel like big cinematic, that big scope feel that feels like the 70s and 80s and of film and 90s even now, which 10 years ago, I never would have said that. I would have been like, I don't want to make a 90s movie. But now I was like, you know what? This is my chance to do something that's self-aware, explore some of the same themes that I love, literally love and redemption and passion, and but at the same time tackle it, yeah, in a different light. And I think part of that has come with the changing industries and me getting, as I've gotten older, not being so like, holding on to this. It's gotta be, I gotta have tonally the same thing, or I gotta have a theme that runs through them all. And yeah, I want that, but
Yeah.
as an artist, you're like, I want to capture lightning in a bottle too. I don't know where this is going. And that's, kind of how I looked at it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, it's almost like you're kind of, in some ways you push back a little bit on what being an auteur necessarily is, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just expect directors to always be working with the same themes or always be doing the same style.
Yeah.
Which I think with Dying a Gunfight, you have a completely different look to it, but it also it's still a very much an independent film.
Yeah.
You're just working with maybe a bigger cast and maybe a little bit more production, on it.
Yeah.
But what I've loved about your sort of all three of your films is that you're still working with like dual characters, with two lovers, with two characters that are in relationships, and it kind of goes back to that romance. What do you have sort of an idea of what's the reason that draws you to a romantic story about two lovers? Maybe they're kind of like star-crossed, or
Yeah.
or
yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know what it is, because it's funny. Those aren't the movies I choose to watch, which is so weird. And I think that's maybe why they grab my attention, because, everything to me comes back to, and I think it's a lot of us, if you want to get into psychology, that's all over my head, but it goes back to our youth and the nostalgia and the things, that formed us growing up. And I feel like high school and middle school and those times were very informative years. And for me, in terms of figuring out how, I feel like I knew who I was, because I've always kind of had that cliche, like, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to make movies. I know what I want to do. Like, school's kind of a waste of time for me. Why am I waiting? Why do I need to know this when I know what I want to do?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I am kind of a romantic at heart, in terms of like, not necessarily literally like the love aspect, but also just viewing the world in a whimsical way, and trying to, see it in an elevated way that hopefully, expresses hope and happiness. And to me, I feel like, you have that adrenaline that comes with love and first love or painful love that's been going on forever, and you're trying to, whatever it is. I feel like there's elements there that are just so human and so fun to explore through different characters and different ways. Like, this is a totally romanticized, way over the top stylized version. I think that's why I was like, how about, instead of fully exploring what is a little grittier, what I usually like to approach in a gritty way, it's like, well, why don't I keep the theme instead of keeping the style, in a way? And I don't know, it was just like, it was kind of a big swing. Andrew, one of our writers, he always says, took a big swing, and that could be polarizing to people, but that's okay.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like the testing the waters and getting an idea of what kind of director you are as you're going through this process, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think with a lot of films, it starts with casting. So, I mean, we have to talk with your two leads here, Diego Boneta and Alexandra Daddario. They're both fantastic in this. They both have very good chemistry together.
Yeah.
What sort of brought the two of them onto the project, and were they your first picks? Was it easy, just these two right away?
It's tough. I mean, the way things are now, it's like, it's so hard to get people's schedules lined up, especially on indie movies, where, not to say that actors do things for money or whatever, the security of the studio, or what, for these types of movies, they gotta just love the script. They gotta be like, we fell in love with these characters. We want to tackle it for that reason. And I think that's what we all appreciated about, when we met with them originally, and what they were like. Diego kept saying, like, when he saw that Gunfight was being casted, he kept being like, where's my Gunfight? Where's my Dying a Gunfight? Like, I want something like that. And
Yeah.
then, the stars aligned in a way that he became Ben in the movie. And
Yeah.
same with Alex, like them wanting to explore kind of the strange world, and they were just down to tackle it however the card, whatever cards were dealt to us. And with indie movies, one day you're up, one day you're down, and it's just, you kind of go with it. And I think that was a big part of the decision making, is like, are they going to dive into this and kind of ready to put sweat, blood, and tears into it? And they were. So and it shows on screen. I think that, I learned so much from them, and they're such professionals. And especially with an ensemble cast, knowing that the grounded aspect of the movie, knowing that they were on my side and they could tackle it the way they did, that's what I needed to be comfortable with as a director.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting too. I mean, you talked about them liking the script and them sort of wanting to be attracted to the characters themselves. And it's interesting because for Diego and Alexandra, both of them, they're very good actors, but I don't think people have been given the opportunity to see that.
Yeah.
Diego's in the film New Order. I don't know if you caught that film.
I haven't actually, no.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. Yeah, I know, right? I'm a huge fan of it, and it's this it's sort of film in Mexico that kind of very feels like in the Parasite vein of like class systems being, and the same thing with Alexandra. She's kind of been, like you said, I don't want to say she's been typecast, but she's typically the romantic interest or the daughter that's being saved in some ways. Here, you actually let the two of them flow and let them sort of be the characters that they are. Did you give them notes? In directing them, do you say, hey, go ahead and deal with this?
I think my biggest note, they brought it all to the table. They knew that, again, it was on the page. So much was on the page. The voice of Andrew and Gabe like comes through. Like if you were to meet them, you're like, that's what's on the page. Yeah. So they understood that. But what I love most of all is that this isn't some story about two new young teenage lovers who don't know what they're doing. They brought this they're so cultured and worldly in real life. They brought that to the characters. And that's what I love. That blew my mind, that they were like, these are jaded, kind of numb people trying to figure out the world. And that's what they brought. And that's what, Alex even playing Mary, almost kind of cold and distant and just broken. And that to me was, instead of just this wide-eyed, gleeful, like love, we love each other. It's almost more like the standoffish, like what's your catch? What's the catch here? What's the deal?
Right.
And they brought those elements in that to me, again, was something that I had never seen from them, and it added a level of maturity for me, and hopefully other people see that.
Yeah, well, and of course, I always love to talk about inspirations and movies that inspire you. For me, watching it, above all, I was just thinking True Romance.
Yeah.
Like Tony Scott's True Romance is exactly the type of tone that I got from this movie. Did you have any, after reading the script, maybe did you have any movies that you went back and watched or anything in mind?
It was all of that. Like True Romance was all of ours. Was just like, you could expect, you want that kind of Gary Oldman to pop up, the Christopher Walken, you want that larger than life, like, this is a cartoon caricature, but so amazing and gripping. And that's what all the, Travis and Emmanuel and Justin kind of brought. I let them kind of run loose. And that was hard for me because I'm always like, bring it down. But I was like, you know what? Let's go big or go home kind of thing. And yeah, True Romance. And for me, a little of Fight Club and a lot of 90s. Like, again, 10 years ago, I would have been like, 90s movies. Who want, like, those seem so movie-ish. They're such movies. Instead of like, I'm always like, no, I want real life. I want it to be gritty and real. And I wanted that too, like kind of in terms of the elements of French New Wave films, very self-aware, playing with the camera, playing with the editing, all over the top, film school 101 and stuff. But like, I also was like, I want a little of my Fight Club. I want this to be a little of, again, this is a peanuts budget compared to those movies, but being able to, even to me, when I see elements, I'm like, dude, that's totally Tyler Durden and Brad Pitt. That's a moment from that. And that's definitely True Romance right there. We were able to capture that. And for me, even, I keep joking, like Ninja Turtles, even like weird, like the Turtles lair is totally, the hangout of Ben and McCool, the buddy characters. And
totally, I totally see that.
You know what I mean? It's like, again, going back to the nostalgia of my youth and what how I interpreted it, I was like, I'm going to interject a lot of this, which again, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I'd be like, this is this is cheesy. This only happens in movies. It's like, well, yeah, because this is Ben's movie. This is not really happening, you know. And my interpretation is that Ben maybe even died in the alley at the beginning of the film, and
Right.
none of this happens, you know.
Yeah.
It's a that's why the animation works, in my opinion, works so well, and the split screens and all the kind of movie tropes and whatnot. So
Yeah, well, and I love that stuff, and I wanted to talk to you about like sort of the production stuff. I mean, the lighting, obviously,
yeah,
you're using like neon lighting and colors and things of that nature. Can you
yeah,
talk about like working with? I want to make sure I'm saying her name right. Your DP, Magdalena Gorka.
yeah, Magdalena
Uh,
Gorka.
yeah, what was sort of the way the two of you attacked it? Did you storyboard it, or do you just like?
Yeah, yeah, definitely storyboarded all of it. I love to draw, and I have to communicate like that. And luckily, I think I vibed with Magdalena so well because she's so visual and she just understands both that kind of visual aspect and also the tools and the stuff that's always over my head. She
Yeah,
like is a wizard with, like, she knew, you know, I wanted that adrenaline, that kind of aggressive camera work, and the poppy colors, and she, you know, I could mumble all this mumbo jumble that, you know, no one can understand what I'm talking about, referencing Ninja Turtles, but she could
right.
take that stuff and really, you know, elevate the movie and make it have that big scope. And yeah, she is just a master at, I know everyone says that stuff about their crew, but like, you got to hand it off to people who know what they're doing. And you know, I can say it, you know, from here to here, but like, I don't, you know, how do you execute that? And her and her team, and Katie Birmingham, our production designer, and, you know, working together, we're able to just create that weird, tangible, gritty world that both feels larger than life, but also feels lived in. And that
Yeah,
was my biggest thing. And yeah, they were able to do that, you know, times 10 with so little, in a way. You know, we had a lot of stuff to work with, obviously, especially compared to my last movies, but at the same
yeah.
time, you know, Magdalena is, I think she's literally shooting Star Trek right now, the show, you know, and like,
Right.
it's like, you know, she knows how to work in both worlds. And it's like walking that line, you know, to get the best result. And I was in the best hands, you know. So when
Yeah.
I would have my breakdown moments, I could just go run to her and be like, how do we do this? What are we doing?
Right.
So it was great. It was amazing working with them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it shows up on the screen, but I mean, it's totally exciting. Got a couple more questions. You know, you mentioned a little bit of it, and I don't want to give away too much to the audience because
Yeah,
I want them to see this, but
sure.
you have to talk about Travis Fimmel's performance. I'm a huge fan of him.
Yeah,
You know, Raised by Wolves, I was like such a big fan of that show,
yeah,
and his performance is for the back row for everybody over the top.
yes,
did
totally.
did you have to ever tell him to reel it back in, or were you just,
Um,
dude, just go?
I was pretty much like, just go. Like, luckily he's cool. I mean, he's a wild card in real life. Like, in my mind, he is Wayne. Like,
Yeah,
you know, Wayne on the page, his character was written technically as like twice that age, and he was described as a walrus of a man. I was picturing, like, you remember like Joe Don Baker or something, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
That's what I kind of pictured him. But of course, the way again, the cards you get, we were all like, whoa, Travis, this is a weird outside the box thing. And you know, I'd heard he was a wild card, but in the best possible way. Like, again, everyone was so professional and so down to just do it. Like, in a way, I kind of looked at it, he felt like he treated me like the younger brother. You know, he could kind of not bully me, but boss me around in the
yeah,
best way. Like, I love, in an endearing way.
yeah.
And that was part of, you know, that's part of who he is and part of what he brought to the character. And that character needed that. You know, he's kind of the character that I wanted to steal the show. You know, him and Barbie, it's like, well, if this was my ideal world, they're the poster that people would have in their dorm room, or they're the ones people would dress up for Halloween as. And
Right.
you know, again, if it was bigger budget, I wanted to explore that even more with the, you know, if we were to see a whole movie about them, every scene they would have a different outfit. And you know, she has the wigs in the movie, like, which again is a very quick thing that you have to watch more than once to fully grasp those things. But like,
Right.
you know, if we could, if it was a longer, bigger movie, or if we could explore these characters in a like a TV show or something, a series, I would be like, you know, she would have a pink wig in one scene, maybe he would have a pink wig in another. You know, they're that outlandish, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I love that they, you know, Travis he's so intimidating, but he's such a softie. Like, he has such a heart, and he, like, you know, he's this kind of, he has those puppy dog eyes, and that messed us up.
No, you're okay.
Okay, I gotta put my phone on airplane mode.
Yeah, you're
But I'm sure that's gonna be happening a lot.
right.
But anyways, yeah. Long story short, it was pretty much just like, dude, run with it, and you know, he knew when to be, you know, there's some more intimate moments with him and Barbie, you know, and it's like, oh, he knew how to like keep his character there, but kind of dial it in and keep it, you know, super touching and grounded. And that's when I was like, whoa, like this guy's operating on another level. I mean, his script was all written with crazy notes and images, and I was just like, dude, this is my kind of guy. Even though I'm terrified of him, I love him. You know, it's so fun to work with him, and I would welcome the opportunity to work with him again. You know, any of these guys, any of these.
Yeah. Well, they're telling me to wrap. One more question. So you know, you worked in 2 independent films, and it took you a little bit of time to get this one made.
Yeah.
What would you say overall your experience on working on Dying a Gunfight? What do you hope for audiences to get out of this film?
I mean, it was a challenging film. I hope people understand that, you know, there was a moment when one of my producers was like, dude, you're trying to make, we get it, you want to make True Romance, but that was a $70 million movie back in 1990. Like, you're still, you know, you're doing it. We have the tools, we're doing our best, but like, you can't beat yourself up. Like, you gotta, you know, this is a colorful, challenging film that, you know, you want to pop, and you just still got to just have the heart there. The heart's there, and that's what I hope people get out of it. Like, yeah, it's a fun it's totally eye candy and whatnot, but there's some heartfelt stuff there, and I want people to, you know, think about the movies they love and all those things when you're younger, when you would go to the cinema or find that love of your life that you're like, you think it's the love of your life. You have that angsty, like, I want to take on the world kind of vibe, and you know, I want people to see the tongue-in-cheek wit and charm that's there, that was in the script, and I hope all that pops and people just literally just have fun with it, you know.
Awesome. Well, Collin Schiffli, thanks so much for talking with me today.
Dude, Leo, thank you.
I can't wait for everybody else to see this film, Dying a Gunfight, and we'll see you next time. We'll see you for the next movie.
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll do this again. I can't wait.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Leo. Appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.